In this video, I'm going to take a look at Colour Efex Pro by Nick, which is plugin software for Photoshop and Lightroom. I've opened this image up from Photoshop, but it can be done just as easily from Lightroom, and you get the same workspace. So on the left-hand side, I have the filter library, which is basically a sliding panel with all the filters that you have access to. And if you choose one of these, let's say choose bleach bypass, a lot of these effects are kind of taken from film days. So this one is named after an effect that was once done in the colour darkroom. Some of them are also digital effects, so HDR kind of effects too. So you'll notice once I choose a filter, the effect shows on the image that I've chosen, and you have other controls on the right hand side. So on this particular one you have brightness, saturation, contrast and local contrast. You also have minor controls for shadows and highlights, which is just to protect or not protect those particular parts of the image from the effect that you're using. And you also have control points, which can be used the same way as in Silver Efex Pro that we looked at in the other video. Supposing you've chosen one filter that you quite like, but you want to make further adjustments, you just go down to the bottom of the control panel on the right and click Add Filter. Then this gives you a space called Empty Filter, and you can go onto the left hand side again and choose a different filter. So let's choose something like film grain. So if you add film grain into the mix, then you have some more controls here on the right hand side, which lets you decide how much grain you want on your image. So the less grain per pixel, the more grainy your image. The more grain per pixel, the less grainy it looks. You can have soft grain or hard grain. It's more of a subtle effect. Contrast. And again, the protection for your shadows or highlights. And you can keep on adding filters more or less as many times as you want. So if you want to add a Glamour Glow to your image, you click Add Filter again, and over here we have the controls for the Glamour Glow. So you can tell or not tell. This, I mean, some of the filters work better with others, and some work less well with others. So it's kind of rather a process of trying it out really to find out which works well. This glow warmth is quite nice. It gives you quite a strong effect for cool or warm, and then you can increase the glow as you go along. If you decide you want to see what effect a particular filter is having, you can click on the tick box, and that either takes the filter out of the mix or adds it back in again. And if you click on the little drop down arrow just next to the tick, you have access to the controls that you previously accessed on that filter. So you can make changes to each one as you go along. If you decide that you don't want to use one at all, you can just click the X, which closes that particular filter, and then you're left with the other ones. So if I get rid of all of those, I'm left with an empty filter, and this is how my image started. Perhaps some of the more useful ones, although obviously that depends on what you like, I guess, are the graduated filters. So you have graduated color filters here. So I've got a color set which is a drop down, so I can have blue or olive, coffee, orange. So if I stick with the blue filter, I can choose how much opacity I want with that, and then the blend, which is kind of how quickly it fades into the image. Vertical shift means how far down the image it comes, and you can rotate it too in case you just want it on a particular side or corner. You also have other graduated filters, so you've got a fog one, which harks back to a project that we did a little while ago, so you could have added fog using Color Efex Pro. Again, you have all the similar kind of controls that you had on the last one, and so on and so forth. There are vignette filters, there are contrast filters, all sorts. It's best just to try them. However, you may want to start in the recipes drop-down box. And the recipes section means that you can click on some suggested recipes of filters, and it gives you sort of pre-selected combinations of filters, and it shows you on the right hand side here which ones that is chosen for you. So if you want to see how a particular filter affects an image, you can switch it on or off with the tick box here. And there's again quite a good degree of these recipes that you can choose and see which ones you like the look of. There's also a history section, so you can see what you've been doing, and you can go back in history. It just takes a little bit of time, at least on my computer. So you can go back in history and see what you were doing in previous states. Back down to where we were, is at the bottom here. You can also save a recipe, so if you have a particular combination of filters that you really like, you can click the Save Recipe button, and that will give you the opportunity to give it a name, and it will then appear in the recipes on the other side. If you want to see the difference between your new filtered image and the original, you can click this Compare button, and as long as you hold it down, it goes back to your original picture. Or you can click on the Split Preview, which gives you a half and half effect, which you can slide across to see the difference. Or there's the side-by-side preview, and you can either have them one above the other or side by side, which is quite nice to be able to see where you started. There's also a zoom control, so you can see the detail of your particular chosen image and filter. Lastly, you have a brush control, and if you click brush, what it does basically is it takes you back to Photoshop, and it allows you to have a brush of the filter that you've chosen, or the combination of filters you have chosen, and it gives you a layer mask, and it gives you a new layer with the Nick filter on it, and a layer mask that allows you to brush the effect onto just part of your image. which can be quite useful. So basically you have the sort of subtle controls on the right hand side, or the particular filter controls on the right hand side. You have the filter stack here, which shows you the ones that are in use at the moment, and you can turn those on and off, visibility with a tick, or you can get rid of them with the X on the right hand side. And you have the whole list of filters on the left hand side, which you can choose just by clicking one after the other. Or you have the recipes, or you have your history. The best way to get used to it is really just to have a good play around and choose filters at random and see which ones you like or don't like.